This is episode 575. I first met today's guest, Amy Balsters, in 2018 when she was a wedding and event florist operating as Amy Nicole Floral. We both attended a floral conference, and during a few days together, we made a good, friendly connection. Later that year, Amy relocated with her family from Southern California to the Washington, D.C. area, and the timing was ideal for her to attend our second Slow Flowers Summit in the nation's capital. She joined Slow Flower Society as a member, and, through our social connections, I watched as she began teaching bouquet making skills around the country, helping florists learn the art of the loose and airy bouquet style. One of her workshops promised, if you struggle with your bouquets feeling tight, lacking dimension or movement, or creating anxiety, this is the class for you. A few years ago, Amy rebranded her business as the Floral Coach, and she began to teach online and in-person workshops. Classically trained, Amy is an award-winning floral design educator with vast industry experience spanning 2 decades in retail floristry, weddings, and special events. She teaches the romantic-inspired loose and airy style and is the creator of Bouquet Bootcamp, a comprehensive design course and hands-on workshop series. Last week, I met up with Amy in San Diego, where we both participated as speakers at Cal Flowers Fun and Sun Conference. Amy taught 2 hands-on bouquet making workshops, and I was a panelist for the floral marketing presentation. I flew in a day early so I could take Amy's workshop, and I asked her to sit down with me afterwards for this interview. I'm so thrilled to share her story with you and to connect you with Amy's educational offerings. We will discuss the numerous ways you can connect with her free content, as well as what she offers online, in person, and virtually to her students. And during the interview, I'll pop up her website so you can get a sneak peek at that. Let's jump right in and get started. I'll share our sponsor thank yous at the end of the show. Welcome back to the Slow Flowers podcast with Deborah Prinzing. We're doing something kind of crazy in a little alcove in a ballroom at Cal Flowers Fun and Sun, and I'm here with Amy Balsters of the Floral Coach.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, we've been planning this for a while because you're teaching here, or
Yes.
you taught here. You
Yes.
taught 2 workshops. I just took one and it was fantastic. The flowers you see a little bit in the frame are part of the hand-tied bouquet.
Yes.
So, what was it? A hand-tied bouquet class?
Yes.
But it's the Floral Coach
Way.
method. Yeah. So anyway, Amy, I've been wanting to interview you for a long time, and it's so nice to do it in person.
Oh, I agree.
So thanks for saying yes.
Thank you for the honor.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
an honor.
Well, listen, you have been a Slow Flowers member for a number of years.
Yes.
We were just reminiscing that you came to 2 conferences
Yes.
in 18 in DC.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And in 2021 in San Francisco.
Yes.
So I really appreciate the support. And it was fun to have you there, but I can never talk to anybody. It's like being at your own wedding. You're always running around and can't really have quality conversations. So, but it meant a lot to me that you were there.
So glad.
Yeah.
I
So
loved it.
I really want people to hear what you're doing and figure out how to get involved with what you're doing. And I got the real deal today.
Hey.
I mean, okay, you taught a 1.5-hour workshop.
Yes.
Is that kind of a mini course, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so give us the lowdown on, or give us the snapshot of the Floral Coach. How do you define your business?
Ooh, I love that question.
How many pieces of the pie are there?
Yes. Okay. Well, let me start with the hands-on, because that's what you got to experience today.
Right.
So I teach hands-on workshops a few times a year that are called Bouquet Bootcamp. This is a 2-day in-depth design experience, and I have been refining this workshop every time I do it. I tweak it and tweak it and tweak it to get really the best results and experience for the students who come. And the way that I've changed this over the years is to really focus on building a strong foundation and kind of stripping back a lot of what designers do to get back to the foundations of good floristry. So we go deep into design theory, we explore the principles and elements of design as they apply to the design style that we're trying to accomplish. We go deep into color theory. We actually spend an entire half a day going deep into how to create complex color palettes, how to harmonize color, how to bridge color, how to really look at our material and understand how to use color to create different effects. We have a huge color bar, and students get to create their own palettes, and we check them for being well balanced. And so it's
you're getting a lot of feedback, and
a lot of feedback.
I watched that today. You spend a
Yeah.
lot of time positive critique.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think what's important about effective teaching is to be able to give effective critique, to be able to look at a design critically, not harmfully, but critically, and say, here's what's working, and here's how we can change something to create a better effect, a more effective design technique. How do we create more balance, harmony? So when we can remove the emotion from it, we don't have to feel like we've failed. It's more about achieving balance and harmony in a design. So we really go back to checking our work based on the principles. Is there this principle of dominance at play, right? If there's a ratio issue with how much color you've used, it's not about you being a good or bad designer or failing or passing. It's about shifting and adding more red. Right? That's
right,
very
you're
effective.
taking that the fear out of it because
Yes.
you're just looking at it analytically.
Analytically.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to be able as professionals to look at our work and say, here's what's working and here's how I can change it. It's our job as designers, I think, to understand how to create something that our customers want. And when we can set the ego aside and just look at our work really objectively, it's very empowering. And I think that the heart of the workshop is really about that. It's about giving designers tools and language and the spirit to say, I can do this. I'm not, this is not about being good or bad.
Yeah.
It's about being effective and efficient and productive.
So 2-day Bouquet Bootcamp, and you offer that in person a couple times a year?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little complicated.
Okay.
So Bouquet Bootcamp was kind of born truly out of just observing how many designers struggle with bouquet making from a retail perspective to bridal. But what I'm really passionate about is foundational floristry, core techniques that can be applied to anyone and everyone, whether they have a lot of experience or they're brand new. We can still get results, and I think that's what's so compelling to me, is that by using good technique, you can get a result over and over and over. And so this workshop really hones in on technique, principles and elements, good technique, color theory, and really design application, meaning how we place flowers to achieve a certain aesthetic, right? So in this workshop, we focus on laying a good foundation and then putting those principles into practice, and then the designers are able to use the color bar and really be able to stretch their wings and build either tight round balls, open airy, big, small, doesn't matter, cascading, using all of this core foundational technique. So if
you have the technique, your design can evolve in many directions.
100%.
Okay.
That's really the power of the technique, is that, and it's not, I didn't come up with this. This is, the spiral technique has been around forever. This comes out of Europe, very traditional. But I think what's unique about what I do is my approach to teaching this is very layered. It's about building on that technique so that designers aren't, I'm not trying to make a bunch of mini me's.
Right.
I'm trying to teach a foundation that then they can apply their aesthetic to. That is, I think, really important.
It's empowering, I think.
Very empowering.
Because you're right, you did not invent the spiral
No,
bouquet,
absolutely
but you do, from my point of view,
Yes.
demystify it.
I hope that's true.
And make, and kind of set your students up for success.
Yes. Yes.
Not being a professional designer myself, I will just say I just took this course. I'm pretty proud of my little spiral. It stood up by itself.
Yes.
And I have had people try to teach me the spiral before, and I found it almost impossible to understand. Just to understand what we were talking about, like the angle and the one stem at a time, and you've got this whole like free-spirited, like, well, put 3 in here and put 2 over there. I loved it. And I'm not saying it was like crazy. It was there was rationale behind it.
So when I started teaching, and I'll back up just a second. I was a classically trained designer 20 years ago. I went to flower design school. I spent, really learning in a classroom setting how to do funeral work and how to prep a vase properly and all the mechanics and language. And so I was really fortunate. I recognize how rare that is to have this classical training. And I went out into the world and worked in retail, worked in special events, and I had a very tight kind of aesthetic. I felt like I could, that was the style in the early 2000s especially, very tight, very round, very paved, Martha Stewart chic, right? And when I started my business in 2012, that was not as much the style I was seeing. I was seeing more loose, airy garden style, and I struggled. I mean, it was not easy. I actually, for a long time, thought, I think I've aged out, even at 30 years old. I don't think I can do this. And I really doubted my ability to evolve. I mean, truly, it was a big mindset issue.
Wow.
But I really thought, I think I gotta hang up my apron. I just can't get that look. And I struggled so much trying to understand this open form styling of flowers. I went to so many workshops and conferences, and it just wasn't clicking. I just thought, man, nobody can really explain to me the how, the theory. I saw a lot of beautiful designs. I was very inspired by how talented so many people were, but when I got back to my studio, I just couldn't make it happen. And it started really doing a number on my mindset and doubting. There's a lot of inner critic work in there at play, and eventually I really went back into my training. I went back into foundational floristry, principles and elements, and was able to apply what I knew worked to the modern styling of flowers. And I had this very eureka moment. And I think that was kind of the beginning of recognizing that I could share this information with others that would help them. I was at a flower conference. I actually was doing some competition, and I was rooming with these two other designers that were fairly new to the industry. And we all heard the same presentations. We went back to the hotel room, and they said, yeah, that was such an amazing presentation. I don't really understand how she did that color theory. And I pulled out literally a piece of paper at the hotel, and I started drawing a color wheel, and I started explaining to them that she used an extended analogous palette, and that she uses and they're just like, what? Why are you not
mind blown. And see, it's so funny, if we come from that, and we have this bubble where we think everybody knows this. Yeah.
That's truly what I think. I just hadn't recognized that over the years I had invested so much in my education and through mentors and training that I sort of assumed that everybody correctly also knew what I knew. And I realized that at that conference, these new friends encouraged me, you really should be teaching this. I mean, that was so helpful. You just explained to us and broke down what that other designer did. And I thought, I could help somebody with this. I don't have a big following, I'm not famous, I don't know if anybody's gonna come to my workshop, but I knew that I had the language, and that I could actually help a designer better understand design. That just lit up my whole world.
Wow.
And so I started to take, one of the girls actually in that hotel room was my very first student who paid me to take a private class. And from there, it just started spreading like wildfire. I started traveling around the country, working in the back of wholesale houses and being in tiny flower shops and just telling people, this is what I'm doing, come to my workshop, and, charging no money, just kind of making a way.
Was it always around a bouquet?
So when I started teaching, I focused on centerpieces and bouquets because I found that those were the things people wanted to learn about the most.
Yeah.
It was also easiest for me as I was traveling around. I didn't need big structures.
Kind of portable.
It was portable.
Yeah.
I could get vases, etc. As I went around the country, I realized more and more everybody struggled with bouquet making. I mean, almost 100%. Oh, can you help with bouquets? Oh, can you help with bouquets? They would take this bouquet class. It was like an hour and a half at the time, very similar to this one. And it was like life-changing. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so helpful. Please do more of this. So early on, I really listened and paid attention to what designers were telling me they wanted.
What's their pain point?
What's their pain point?
Yeah.
What are they struggling with?
Yeah.
What is the thing causing them the most frustration? And it consistently came down to bouquet making, which I think can be very challenging. It is a very mystifying process for a lot of people, and I had struggled myself with it. So I really understood the emotional challenge of the amount of self-doubt I felt making bouquets. Making this style made me question my place in the industry, frankly. I mean, it really was painful to feel like I don't know how to do this. So it has become a passion point, a passion project to explain this in a way that every designer can understand.
So you said you've taught over 1,000 students.
Yeah, thousands at this point.
Okay,
yeah.
so in that, and you're still not bored with it.
No, it's like I'm still so, every time I do it, I feel just as excited as I did 5 years ago.
I think you feel excited because you're seeing the
yes.
light bulb go off,
yes.
or just the happiness on
yes.
people's face. Like,
yeah.
oh, I take that to the bank.
That's it.
And to the bank is part of it, because I heard you today talking about this style allows you to perhaps be more profitable.
Yes.
Because this sounds,
yes.
I'm simplifying it, but you're maybe using fewer expensive flowers or
yes.
less product.
Yeah. Overstuffing bouquets is a very common problem that I see. And I think that what I mentioned in class is that overstuffing can be a choice, right? To have that really dense look. But
like the more is more look.
More is more.
Yeah, yeah.
But what
I heard the woman confessing to me that she just loads up her cart and doesn't have a budget.
It's so common.
It sounds very painful.
It sounds painful and it sounds very expensive.
Yeah.
And we know in the industry, the flowers have never been more expensive. We also have the least amount of availability that we've ever had. And we're having to get really scrappy and very flexible with how we buy and how we design. And I think what's really powerful is a lot of my students have told me they spend literally overnight 20 to 30% less on their bouquets. That is a huge amount of money back into that person's business.
Right. And they're not compromising on their aesthetic.
That's it.
And they're getting this beautiful, airy,
yes.
full look.
Yes. Yes.
I wrote down a lot of the little Amyisms.
There's a lot of them.
I liked it when you were quoting some former, boss or somebody who said a good florist should pick up all the scraps off the floor and make a bouquet and sell it for $50. It's like,
yeah,
okay, it's an art form, but you gotta pay yourself.
But you gotta pay your bills.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, so you've been doing, you said 5 years you've been doing the
About 5 years,
okay.
yeah.
Did you start out calling it Bouquet Bootcamp?
I didn't,
I feel like
yes.
that was sort of new.
It is. So it was called the 1 Day Bouquet Intensive. Very
that.
nice. It was good. It was effective for a long time.
It became a 2-day bouquet.
It just keeps growing. But the more and more I realize that it almost seems kind of silly to maybe somebody would say, why so much effort on a bouquet class? Why do you need 2 full days? But really, we could spend a week deep diving, right?
Yeah.
Because we talk about all the principles as they apply to creating asymmetrical balance, right? So how we place stems is through grouping and clustering, and how we create framing is through using line flowers on the perimeter. So how we place these things, we have to go back to the foundation. We talk a lot about proportion and ratio, and what has been so remarkable when we rebranded the name to Bouquet Bootcamp, I eventually turned it into a 2-day class, is the work that I'm seeing coming out of the 2-day workshop is mind-blowing to me. I mean, it's evidence that taking the time to observe and listen to what students need is really effective. By going back to the basics, laying this foundation, teaching the foundations of good design, letting them free in that bouquet bar, and then watching them create, I've never seen better work come out of these workshops.
And all that preliminary theory is going to influence a centerpiece or an arbor or a table runner. It's not just the bouquet, so they're getting more.
Oh yeah.
They're getting kind of the meat that they can use for something else.
Everything.
Wow.
It all applies. All these principles apply. In fact, many designers have told me, oh, I was making a Christmas wreath, and I was thinking, dense cluster echo, right, of my line. Where's the eye being drawn? I was making a corsage, right? I was making a large installation. All of the principles apply to no matter what we're making.
Okay.
So when we learn about them, when we understand them, we are more effective designers.
Yeah.
Use less product, get our work done faster. These are the things that get me up in the morning and get me really excited.
Are you taking on wedding clients, or are you just teaching now?
This is my full-time job.
Wow.
Yeah, it has become very busy.
Wow.
And I have, frankly, more work than I can say yes to. I'm so honored to teach I do private coaching classes with flower shops and individual event businesses where I'll go in for a day or two. We write up a custom curriculum for that business, and I will go in and train that team on design principles and work, effectiveness, etc. So even within the workshop, we really focus on getting designers out of that perfectionistic zone and pushing them into more productive, efficient ways to design. We talked a little bit today, you witnessed how we design more ergonomically, how we can stand, how we can strip flowers, where we're able to be more efficient and get the job done. And this is part of what I'm really passionate about. I spent a lot of nights working way too late, away from my kiddo, fussing, right? Fussing. And I regret those hours that I could have been snuggling him or watching a movie with my husband. And I think that that's sort of what drives a lot of my passion, is just understanding that pain point that I know very near and dear to my heart. So I had to make some major changes in my wedding business for many years to move away from these old patterns of the way I worked and go back to my, design training. I was a production designer for many years as a professional freelancer. If you don't make within a certain time frame, you don't get hired back, right? And I knew how, but I let my fear take over way too often in my business, where I was afraid to do new things, I was afraid to try new styles, I would overwork myself, overstuffing. So I understand these pain points very intimately, and my hope is to move designers away from that and help them make a path away.
Yeah, you teach from a personal experience of struggling. But you worked through it, and I can see, just this curriculum that you've developed and this methodology. You've invested in perfecting it, because I can just sort of watch your little brain work, and like you've come up with easy like catchphrases and simple body positions, but it's understandable, but I know there's a lot behind it, and what you've invested to get there has been years. Years.
It's interesting to why it's so effective, I think, is, and why designers have what they say is a really transformative experience. I hear this word a lot. This was transformative. Why that word, I think, comes up a lot is because I've taken so much time, I think, to really break the process down. And it's easy to copy, right? It's easy to kind of rip off someone's language or say, oh, I can do that too. But it took years to keep refining all this methodology of saying, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. Even the way we lay out our flowers today, right? There's a methodology in the pattern placement. So we're not chasing ourselves in the bouquet and working inefficiently, right? There's a reason for every single step.
And then you multiply that by how many bouquets a flower shop has to crank out, or a studio has to crank out, and you're giving them systems.
Yes, systems
that become more profitable.
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's really it can create a powerful shift in a business and in the work of a designer to think very strategically about why they do something, and the way they do something can save them real time and money.
So you do these 2 days, but in person, but like, what happened with COVID, and how you layered on all these? You were just at AIFT, and you're going to SAF, and we're at Cal Flowers, Fun and Son. So I know there's other speaking things that maybe you don't get the luxury of 2 days. Right?
Don't get the luxury of 2 days. I got 90 minutes today. So Bouquet Bootcamp, as a 2-day hands-on workshop, is also an online course.
Okay. When did you launch that?
So that was launched last October.
Okay.
So it's been almost a year. We've had a lot of students come to.
So you filmed the whole thing, or did you do it in live?
I did all pieces. Filmed it with
modules. And
modules, it's
so
8
that's
modules.
a huge investment.
It's a huge investment.
To do. Wow.
Huge project. Took me a year and a half to really think through it. I probably took too long.
So what is in the online course is also benefiting your in-person workshops.
Oh yeah.
Because you've had to think about the modules and how you move a student through this concept.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's why I took so much time on the online course, because I had been teaching in person pre-COVID and was able to get these results because we're right here.
Yeah.
I can see your hand placement, I can see the muscles straining in your arm and say, loosen your hand, do this, lace your fingers, right? All those little things that we talked about.
I did my little exercise.
We did our little exercise. I did a little stretch. And so there's all these things I can see in person. I don't have that luxury in an online course, but I knew not everybody can leave their farm. They can't leave their business. They can't leave their kiddos. This information needs to be accessible.
Yeah.
And so I took a really long time to break this course out into really digestible pieces.
Yeah.
It starts with the principles and elements of design application. There's 17 videos on just design application. They're
Wow.
2 to 4 minutes long. They're very easy to understand, and they say, here's my framing technique. You take line flowers, you do this. Here's how we do grouping and clustering. Here's what collaring is. So I took the most impactful design applications and demonstrated them in video. We don't have time for that in a 2-day hands-on.
Got it.
It's so focused on application. They're gonna cross over, but the most impact is having them both. Because
So
the
people
course-
might do the online course and then come take an in-person.
That's
from
my hope.
Okay.
Because the online course is so comprehensive, but it's not the same as coming and having to make it.
Yeah.
You can't teach balance. You can talk about it, the principle, but until you got that thing wobbling around in your hand, it doesn't always connect for some learners.
Yeah.
Some learners need to learn hands-on, which is why we'll continue doing both. I'll develop more content online, I will keep teaching in person. I'm a hands-on kind of learner,
Mhm.
but I have a ton of online courses because I can't travel everywhere, right? To
Right.
everything I want to go to.
Right.
So we have the online, we have the hands-on, and then I'm now adding a third part, which is a virtual hands-on. This is for people who cannot get on a plane, maybe they can't afford to do the full 2-day, where we have a partnership with Mayish. They are going to ship flowers in my, curated palette and curated stems to a student. We're having 10 students per class. And this is really what I did over COVID. It worked really well. It's a long day, it's a 1-day Zoom call, and they get a design guide ahead of time, they get all the principles and elements, and they get all the design application videos.
But they're on Zoom with you
Yes.
in real time.
In real time.
You set a day
We
and
set a
everybody
day. Yep.
has their flowers and
That's
they get on.
They get processing videos of how to clean the stems. We show up, we go through how to do the spiral, learning everything you just learned today, how to create groupings and clusters, and they get personalized feedback.
Wow.
So we keep the classes small.
Yeah.
All my hands-on classes are very small, 8 to 10 max.
Yeah.
I've done it with more. I don't get enough time with everybody. The most effective transformative thing is to hear honest, helpful critique about your work.
Yeah.
When you can see, okay, do you see, Janet, how the left side's lower? All right, we're gonna raise those up a 2. It takes me time to say, look at every single person's work twice. We make 3 bouquets, spiral, then an open form, and then a cascade.
Wow.
So they're learning multiple
In one
techniques
day.
in one day and
Wow.
on Zoom.
Yeah.
Doing 3 in the fall. We're starting with 3. We're gonna do it once a month.
Wow.
October, November, December. October's halfway sold out. And this was a really effective way for people to learn alongside me, with me, where they're getting feedback.
It's kind of a hybrid.
It's a hybrid
Yeah,
model.
perfect.
It's perfect.
Wow.
So I will relaunch hands-on workshops in 2023. I usually spend the winter planning out the year. I travel a lot, like conferences and events and team trainings and things like that. So I try to do the hands-on workshops in seasons where no florists are available. Winter, summer. Kind of off-season, then spring and fall. So I pick
Because
several
most
dates.
people are in the wedding business
They're
in
not-
summer.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, when I met you, we're going to do a little bit of
Yeah,
backing
let's
up
backtrack.
on the path here. We met at the
Yeah.
first Team Flower Conference.
I remember.
And that was in Orlando
Yes.
in 2018, I think.
I think mine was 17.
Okay.
17 or 18, was
Yeah. And we just struck up a
Yeah.
conversation, but there was a small enough group
Yeah.
that I just enjoyed you, and then
Yes.
you moved. You were living in
moved.
California.
Yeah.
You moved to the DC
Virginia,
area,
yes.
and that's where you are based now,
Yes,
right? Okay.
correct.
So
Yeah.
at the time when I met you, what was your business then?
Wedding business primarily.
Okay.
A little bit of freelancing. So I relocate. I have active duty military husband, move every 3 years, and I've moved my business 3 times. The third time I moved it, I was really starting to find my footing as a teacher and understand my place as a teacher, where I could help,
Mm-hmm.
where I felt like I could serve designers best. And that aligned with my DC move. So it was really natural to say, you know what, I see a need here. I'm just gonna kind of keep going. And it just kept snowballing, really. And so at the time I met you, I was still freelancing a bit, but having a young son and just having traveled, I was just about to move across the country.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
he was
just
like 3 or 4.
Yeah, he was tiny still.
Yeah.
So we were really like balancing mom life and a business change. And, you know, I really just found this passion and found that I was really good at it at the same time. And it just kind of blew up. So
That's great.
yeah, it's really been such an interesting journey. My dad's a corporate trainer and has been in corporate training his whole life. He trains people. He goes in and looks at systems and finds efficiency. And I feel like, you know, I'll be 40 in a few days, and I feel like I'm a grown up now, official grown up.
I love it.
And I feel like I'm sort of coming into my own understanding that I'm very similar to him. You know, we both are very passionate about efficiency, and we both love processes, and we are both really passionate about explaining things, taking complex ideas
Yeah.
and making them more easy to understand.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's
Um,
genetic.
Well, people, like, just to give a similar dad story,
Yes,
people
yes.
say like, how can you be so natural getting up in front of a crowd and talking?
Yes.
And I'm like, well, my dad was a Baptist minister,
Mm.
and you know,
Exactly.
a guy on the
Yep.
podium
That's
didn't
it.
scare me. I just thought that was what everyone did.
Exactly.
And so I love that your dad's
Yes.
experience
Oh yeah,
infused what you're doing.
absolutely. I mean, he was taking me to Toastmasters when I was like 13 or
Oh
14.
my gosh.
I mean, I was getting up in front of grown-ups speaking at
Yeah.
a very young age.
That's
It
awesome.
doesn't scare me. I love it. I'm like invigorated by it. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, let's have this conversation, one-sided conversation. I have no fear. It's really more been about finding my footing in how to be the most effective teacher I can.
Yeah, I mean, you had this passion for floristry and,
Totally,
and floral
yeah.
design, and you were trained, and you pretty much, it was your world to
Absolutely.
design,
Yeah.
and the training kind of snuck up on you.
It
and,
did.
Because you just did it without thinking.
I did it.
You just
without
started
thinking.
to. I saw you at the Slow Flower Summit at Filoli. I remember at the end of the day, we're trying to clean up.
Yeah.
There's all these leftover flowers. See out of the corner of my eye, you're over here teaching people how to make anti-bouquets. And I said to Karen, my and she's like, "Are you paying her?" No, she's just doing it.
She's obsessed.
But I think it was just must have evolved out of a conversation with somebody.
It did.
Yeah, that cracked me up.
Susan Stramlew
Mhm.
and I had dinner with a few designers, and we brought up bouquet making, and I said, she said, I do it a certain way, but I don't really understand how you do it. So, well, I can show you. It'll literally take a few minutes. She's obviously very experienced,
Yeah.
talented, incredibly knowledgeable designer, and I said, you'll pick this up right away. I'll just show you really quick. So I said, we'll grab some leftover flowers at the end, pop it over to a table, strip, clean, spiral, and she got it right away.
I love
It
it.
just connected for her. And then we slowly started.
It was like a little magnet. Like there were 6 people.
Turned into like 20, 25 people.
Well, we had a lot of leftovers.
We had a lot of leftovers, and we just had this very impromptu spiral bouquet class, and it was so cool because no matter where I go, I just want to help. I just want to be helpful.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. You have a career and
Yes.
you want to make money, and I think so many creative people struggle to find their special, their unicorn moment.
Sure.
Like, how do you brand yourself?
Yeah.
And maybe this is. I mean, clearly this is it for you.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
if you had started out to say, I'm going to teach anti-bouquet method and make it a special brand,
Yeah.
I don't know that it would have happened. It
100%. It evolved.
it was organic the way you did it.
I think what had, early on, I really invested in business coaching.
Mhm.
I knew that this was not my wheelhouse. I knew that in order to build something meaningful, I needed help from outside myself, my industry, my inner voices, and I hired a lot of help. I did not figure all this out on my own.
Okay.
I invested in marketing, really good marketing people that understood branding, that helped me with my first brand shoot. They helped me figure out what kind of colors should you wear, how do you show up and embody this idea of the floral coach, right? What does that look like? And it's been really helpful to have sort of a template to go back to. It's easy to get distracted by other people's success or saying, well, oh no, they're teaching installations, maybe I need to teach. It's like, I'm focusing right now on this. Things will pivot. I'll add more to the library.
Yeah, but it's, the concept is you simplified it. You stripped away all the things that others might have told you to do.
That's it.
I just watched from afar and thought, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
It really is. And you know, I think we all need to know this. We all need to strip away the fluff and go down to the core essential. I struggle with this all the time because I follow bright shiny objects.
Of course.
And I'm capable. I can, you know, ask a busy woman to do something and she'll say yes. And I think you have to constantly say, is this my raison d'etre? You're like, why am I saying yes to something if it doesn't answer these questions that I've identified as my mission?
That's it.
And you clearly know your mission now.
Yeah.
So you're not pulled away to other things. And not, you said you were gonna add new courses.
Yeah,
but that's a building a business.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and we're asked all the time. I have a small team that actually works for me now, and I have been able to, you know, build this in a really meaningful way. But we're asked all the time for new stuff. People like the way I teach, and they're like, I'd love a course on this, I'd love a course on
Actually, that makes so much sense because you've got your believers.
Listen.
And they want the next thing.
They want the next thing.
That's
and
marketing
101. There's a unique, what I've realized is there's room for every perspective, right?
Yeah.
There isn't about my way versus somebody else's way, or I'm right or they're wrong. I think I've grown a lot in the last several years of teaching, looking at people like Hitomi Gilliam, right? Who has a true spirit of generosity in the way she teaches, in just being able to really go deep into how do I serve, how do I connect, how do I offer. And I think just like when we run our businesses, the focus is always on the customer. What do my customers need? How do I connect? How do I serve them better? That builds our businesses. When we are coming from a place of service.
Yeah.
In teaching, it's the same. This isn't about me, it's not about my ego, it's not about what I'm good at. It's about who I serve now has shifted from a bride to a designer.
Yep.
Somebody who wants to learn. Or a flower farmer.
Yep.
Or a retail person. I have people from all different rounds of floristry come through my workshops.
Yeah.
And I've had a ton of flower farmers say, your color theory section changed how I plant. It changed how I think of line, form, mass filler in what I'm growing, right?
Oh, absolutely. I hadn't even thought about that,
Yeah.
but they're like the people who benefit the most from this.
Oh, hugely.
Because knowing how to grow is really important, but
Yes.
it doesn't stop there.
No, and for a lot of flower farmers, they are really impacted by this because they can bring in a new stream of revenue through bridal work.
Yeah.
That they're very often very intimidated by.
Right.
But they know using the same technique, I can make market wraps, and then I can turn that around and make it into a bridal.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful stream of revenue that they can increase their business
Oh, yeah.
by knowing how to do that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this really does apply to retail. I've had a designer tell me that I use this technique to make a funeral spray, right? And this beautiful hand-tied funeral spray she made brought in a new funeral contract into her retail business. So it touches so many different parts of floristry.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Well, before we go, you mentioned that you're going to post your class schedule for 2023 sometime
In the
this
winter,
fall?
yeah. Fall,
Okay.
winter, yeah.
Okay, and when we post this on soulflowerspodcast.com, I'll make sure I get your schedule for the fall courses, the hybrids,
Yes.
because that's really cool. Then, you know, this might not air until the end of, no, actually it's gonna air in a couple weeks, so
Awesome.
we'll have it out
Yeah.
for even that October class.
Perfect.
But I do wanna know, why are you a Soulflowers member, and other than just supporting me?
Oh, yes, of course.
I want to hear about kind of your take on things, because
Yeah.
you're sometimes you can source locally and sometimes you can't.
100%. So I'm a Soulflowers member, which by the way, I love what you do. And I'm so in awe of everything you built. It is so important to me to not just support local flowers, to support the farmers who grow them, but it just makes good design sense and it makes good business sense. For me as a designer, I am, and I talked about this, I taught about this earlier, I am looking at shape, size, and color. Those are my three considerations when buying the product that I buy. When I can find local flowers, it's not always possible, but when I can find them, depending on where I am in the country, they add interest, variety, color that I can't get I mean, just from a very practical perspective,
Right.
local flowers often add a layer of novelty to my work that doesn't exist, right? Or that increases the value of what I do. This is from a very pragmatic design sense. Local flowers increase that for me because they are unique to that region or that farmer. Often you want, my favorite colors are these sort of nude, sandy tones, right?
Right.
Those things are tough to find
Yeah.
at a large mass market. I want all of them. I want to buy all of them. And so not only am I supporting my local economy, am I supporting actual farmers, American grown, but it just makes design sense, really. It makes my work better.
Yeah. I kind of have witnessed this shift also, exactly what you're saying, that when I've had this conversation so often lately where I'm talking to someone and asking them what their aesthetic is, and I think in my mind, oh, her aesthetic is really seasonality. She doesn't really, it's informed by the season and what's available, which isn't I know that's not an aesthetic, but it's a piece of it.
Sure.
And what you're saying is the unexpected ingredients are what that final layer, that little delicate touch is that you want to add, that you can always get.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you live near some flower farmers too.
I do.
Right? Yeah.
A lot of flower farmers. Even still, I have had a challenge getting the volume that I need. I remember just last year I was doing fall workshops, or even and I'm part of a co-op, so the co-op has 25 farmers in it, so you'd think an abundance, right? And on Wednesday, I would wait for that list to open, and I'd be there right at 5 when it opened, and I would be frantically adding to cart because I could get 4 bunches of this, 2 bunches of this, and then I would build my whole palette around local.
Yeah.
So I would start with local and buy up everything I could, and then I would supplement with my wholesaler.
Yeah.
And this kind of process is actually something I've been doing for a long time.
It's funny, some other people go the other way.
Sure.
Like, I'll just give my, 80% of my budget to my wholesaler and then fill in.
Now, in all fairness, I'm teaching workshops, which means I have a lot of flexibility.
Right. So you're not trying to have a recipe,
Yeah, if I need 40 bunches of majolicas, I'm not getting those locally.
No, you can't. They're simply not available. Yeah.
So I'm spoiled in that way to have that flexibility. But I was just in Texas, right? And I looked really hard and wide, but they had a heat issue, and it was very challenging to buy them. So the desire sometimes is there, but I think what's important, and I hope that your listeners will appreciate this sentiment, is that making the effort matters.
Yeah.
But I never shame designers for what they use, ever, because I couldn't do my work without imports right now. I hope that changes.
I know, and I say that often, like, imports aren't going away. It's the backbone of the industry. Luckily, I have the luxury.
Exactly.
Because I'm not a professional florist. I can just promote and amplify what flower farmers are doing.
Absolutely.
But the more of us that are asking, I think right now the demand exceeds the supply.
Absolutely.
And hopefully that'll change. Yeah.
How exciting for people to enter our industry, learn how to farm, learn how to design, and we all continue to build it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because you've been.
We could talk for hours.
and you've already taught 2 sessions today.
No, I could talk forever.
Really?
Oh my God. On and on. Yeah. So
you want to add?
I would love to. So my email list is something that we've really grown. My blog. You told me years ago, you need to blog, Amy. You need to blog, and I was like, I'm so busy. I don't know how. All the excuses. And I finally have taken the time to really hone the topics that are, I think, interesting, the tips, the ideas, and really create really good content for the blog.
That you own.
That I own. That's all mine. So we're working on that. So I think the email list is a really good place to start.
Okay, so we'll share that with viewers too.
That would be awesome. We're putting in solid advice, design ideas, freelance information. I bring in a lot of experience from a lot of different parts of the industry. And so I'm ready to share all that in the blog, and I think that's a really good place to start.
Okay.
YouTube is a good place. I have a free YouTube channel. And just keeping an eye on the email list for the new stuff that we're rolling out.
That's awesome.
We have some really exciting stuff that we're doing, and I've got an amazing team around me now that really is helping me execute on all these ideas I've had for years. So we're ready.
Oh my God, and she's not even, She's not even 40 yet.
I know, tomorrow.
Hi, your birthday's tomorrow?
It is,
Oh,
yay.
that's
What a
awesome.
great 40th birthday gift this is.
It's such a treat. Well, thank you so much, Amy.
Yeah, thanks for
This
having
has
me.
been long in coming.
I
And just,
know, it's an
when I
honor.
saw that you and I were going to both be here at the same time, we got to do it.
No
So,
brainer.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you for taking
awesome.
the time to hear my story.
It's been great, and
Yeah.
we'll share everything we've talked about in our show notes when this is posted at the podcast, and you'll be able to watch this replay video at silvarspodcast.com too. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening.
Okay. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. That was so fun. You can visit slowflowerspodcast.com to watch the replay video of my interview with Amy. Look for episode 575. And there you will also see more photos of Amy and her work, as well as find links to her free 60-minute training called 4 Ways to Better Bouquets, as well as all of her workshops you can sign up for. Before I go, I'd also like to thank our sponsors who bring this show to you. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 850 florist shops and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor, Farm Girl Flowers. Farm Girl Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S. grown, fresh, and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgirlflowers.com. And thank you to Red Twig Farms. Based in Johnstown, Ohio, Red Twig Farms is a family-owned farm specializing in peonies, daffodils, tulips, and branches, a popular peony bouquet by mail program, and their Spread the Hope campaign, where customers purchase 10 tulip stems for essential workers and others in their community. Learn more at redtwigfarms.com. Thank you to Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, a farmer-owned cooperative committed to providing the very best the Pacific Northwest has to offer in cut flowers, foliage, and plants. The Growers Market's mission is to foster a vibrant marketplace that sustains local flower farms and provides top quality products and services to the local floral industry. Visit them at seattlewholesalegrowersmarket.com. And thank you to the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers. Formed in 1988, ASCFG was created to educate, unite, and support commercial cut flower growers. Its mission is to help growers produce high quality floral material and to foster and promote the local availability of that product. Learn more at ascfg.org. The Slow Flower Show is member supported, and I value our loyal members and supporters. If you're new to our weekly show or our long running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowersociety.com and consider making a donation to sustain Slow Flower's ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find the donate button in the column to the right at slowflowerspodcast.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of The Slow Flowers Show and The Slow Flowers Podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I'll see you next